leave and let the dogs in anyway, so.
All right,
I changed-
welcome to the public live stream. We just finished a members only live stream. Welcome back to any members that are rejoining us.
What do you mean, any members?
To
I mean,
all,
thank you members for joining us.
yes, good point, George. Special thanks to all the members who were on our members only stream and are now over here on our live stream. I see Stephen English, Edmund, Barry, JD, Sour Melon Gaming. If I missed you, then just drop a chat and I will say hello. So this is a special impromptu live stream. This is not one of our regularly scheduled programs, but today was not a regular day. We had a special day with Bitcoin and the Bitcoin miners, and we're set up potentially for an important close. So we wanted to join you guys out there in the world, everybody, and hopefully share that. So what we're looking for
on the World Wide Web.
On
Sorry.
All right, I'm just fixing my screen. Sorry, everybody. This takes me a minute sometimes. Okay, I think George just left to go let the dogs out. In the meantime, if I could ask everybody if you could please smash the like button. It helps the live stream out a lot. And since this was a special last minute impromptu live stream, it needs all the help it can get. Hopefully everybody had a great day. For those of you invested in Bitcoin, and more specifically, if you're in the Bitcoin miners, it was a spectacular day. We'll talk about all of that. A lot going on right now. So I'll start out by saying I'm looking for two key things today. So I'm hoping that we can go into have a daily candle close here. We've got a couple of important lines. I'm going to go, well, I'll stay zoomed in and then we'll zoom out. This is a 15-minute time frame. So a few key points for those of you who are new, for those of you who have been with us all along. Pardon the review, but we have a gold line here. So every day on the chart, I put a gold line where Bitcoin was when the US equity markets closed the previous day. So we can always look day over day. So you can see, we were down at around $36,807. We had a big run up today. It was a very nice run on the day today. But more importantly, the two lines that I really want to look at, this purple line right here at 37,885, and we're less than $100 above that right now. We've been above it for many hours. This is the highest daily candle close of the year in the year 2023. So that's one of the things that I'm looking for. We've taken a run at this, and I'll go to the 1 day in a minute and show you guys. We just set this. We've taken a run at it since then, but didn't get it. And the other line is, there's a green line here. This is the highest Bitcoin's been all year. That is 38,454. I will tell you, these are 15-minute candles. So just a few hours ago, we got to 38,425. So, just about within $30 of the high for the year for Bitcoin. So this is one of those moments. What I'm hoping is that we see, we're getting a little bit of consolidation. And again, this is a super short-term chart. I'll go to the daily chart that's a little more meaningful. I'm looking to see if we can get a run here at the end of the day. Number one, stay above this purple line. It's been several hours. If we can stay above this purple line, then we have the highest daily candle close of the year. So that would be a bullish signal. But number two, let's see if we can take out the high for the year. And I'm going to go to the 1 day because we really just set both of these very recently. All right, this is not the 1 day that I want to be looking at. Okay, you can see on Friday, so we're Tuesday now. This was only a couple of trading days ago for equities, but of course Bitcoin trades 24/7. So on Friday, we candle wicked up to this 38,000, this green line, 38,454. That was the high for the year. That's a new all-time high for the year. The previous one we had just set on November 9th. So we've had a big breakout here. And you can see if I go back, we got to go all the way back to, May of 2022. So, the better part of a year and a half ago was the last time we were at these prices. So you can see on the daily candle, you can see the top right now, we are still above this purple line. So that is what I'm hoping. This day right here, November 15th, we closed on the purple line at 37,885. That is the highest close for the year. So we're drifting right now between these two lines. You can see on the daily time frame, this becomes more evident. We're just drifting between these two lines right now as we get close to the end of today's daily candle. So I'm hoping we can all share a victory here and see if Bitcoin can hold on. And obviously anything can happen in a 1 hour period. So, it doesn't, it's not the be all end all, but it would certainly be a bullish signal to get a new daily candle high close on the year. And even more so, if we can get this next leg up, you can see this was almost a perfect retest of just a few days ago, which was the high of the year. Like we said, for those of you who just joined us, we got within $30 of the high of the year set on Friday. If we could take that out, we've been talking on the channel for a while now about making a run at 40,000 or 42,000, possibly beyond. For me, I've been looking at between now and the end of the year. We've done some polling on that. George, should we do a poll right now? Hello.
I think we got to do a poll.
Hello to George, by the way.
Hello.
Hello. So also, while we're at it, we do have 55 likes. I appreciate that. Thank you, everybody. If you could smash the like button, it does help the stream in real time. So it is a big favor if you enjoy this content. If you want to help the channel, that does help out a lot. So much appreciated.
Yeah,
right.
JR, I was trying to get you to come over to the members stream. I think I put it in there. JR, come over to... Yeah, we had that right before this. Sorry, go on.
Let's say, yes, this is our members only time. We did do an abbreviated members only stream so that we could hopefully maybe see if we can share something special here today as far as Bitcoin goes, and talk about what was definitely a special day for the Bitcoin miners. Things are starting to move in the right direction here in a big way. So hopefully a lot of you had a very good day today in your portfolio, in addition to just having a good day overall. So hello also, just to say hello to a few members that I see have joined. Hello, Darren S. Hello, Calvin, Crypto Rich, Colton, Stephen English, Ross, JR, Jay.
Wow, I know.
Wesley.
3 weeks ago, CleanSpark was at $3.50. Tom, Mr. Man just asked the question.
Okay.
Should I sell my CleanSpark shares now or hold? That is the question.
We just had a long chat about this in the members only. So my abbreviated answer to that, of course, I can't answer that question. But what I would say is, what was your plan, or what is your plan? You bought the stock,
money.
You own the stock. So I know it's very tempting on a gigantic up day like this. I struggled with this myself. I did not sell. So not financial advice. I always have to tell everybody, this is not financial advice, but I do share with you guys, and so does George. We share with you what we do and what our thoughts are. I did not sell. CleanSpark's my largest position. Bitfarms is my second largest position out of the Bitcoin miners. Riot's my third largest. I didn't sell today, so I chose to hold on. It was extremely tempting, particularly for, even though Bitfarms is the one that had a gigantic day, it was particularly difficult to hold on to CleanSpark today. I'm going to go to the CleanSpark chart because this is pretty spectacular. And by the way, for those of you who are holding CleanSpark and are still in this and have dollar cost averaged in, congratulations, because this was a brutal test of your investment patience. The run that CleanSpark has had, and all the Bitcoin miners, but I know a lot of CleanSpark holders, CleanSpark and Bitfarm holders in particular, have been a little more vocal that they've been extremely frustrated with the price action over the last many months. But you can see over the last 2 weeks, and it's a little over 2 weeks now, but CleanSpark's up almost 84% from November 10th to November 28th. That's 18 days, 2.5 weeks. So, I mean, that is a monster run. Having said that, this was a long road, you know, where there was a lot of, we ran up, all the Bitcoin miners ran up this somewhere. So somewhere in the middle of July, for CleanSpark, it happened to be July 17th. Plus or minus 2 or 3 days of this, all the Bitcoin miners hit their 2023 high. None of them, not one of the 19 Bitcoin miners that we follow on this channel, has gotten back to their highs from July of this year. And remember, this is when Bitcoin, this was within 2 or 3 days of when Bitcoin hit 31,800. At that time, that was the high for the year for Bitcoin. So all the Bitcoin miners had, and you can see this was a vicious run up as well. You know, this was a similar type of a thing, 112%, and that's not from the bottom. That's just from June. So, you know, let's not forget, it was a long road down for CleanSpark to get down to $1.74 was absolute insanity. And for those of you who have been with us long enough, we were pounding the table in November and December. The price action was insane. I felt very strongly that was the bottom. You know, I think a lot of people agreed on that. Nobody could be sure. I won't say a lot of people. Actually, I think it was probably divided straight down the middle. There was still a lot of fear, rightfully so. You know, especially right after FTX, we took another big move to the downside. And, you know, who knows? Nobody knows where the bottom is. It so happened to have been in November and December. So, you know, from that point, this was a 337% run for CleanSpark. And that was by far not the best of the Bitcoin miners. There was probably 8 Bitcoin miners that did better than this in this same window of time. But unfortunately, what followed was, you know, a pretty hefty pullback, a 56% pullback in a window of time where, you know, that's not what was happening to Bitcoin at all. Bitcoin was reasonably sideways. And at one point, you know, Bitcoin hit a new all-time high, and, you know, we were way off of these highs. Bitcoin has now taken out that all-time high by $6,000 or $7,000, and none of the Bitcoin, this is the closest Bitcoin miner to getting back to its summer highs. Right now, CleanSpark is 16% off of its highs from this summer, and that's the #1 performing Bitcoin miner out of the 19 that I follow from today's price versus the highs set in July. So we're still lagging behind. So I will tell you, for those of you who watch my weekend update, I do every weekend, and sometimes I post it on Monday. We talk about what happened last week in a video, and we've been focused on the fact that the Bitcoin miners have lagged behind. And I think, you know, starting 2 weeks ago till the end of the year, I feel like the Bitcoin miners are going to make up for lost ground. Some of them started to do that. There were 3 that really had some big breakouts today. A lot of them are starting to move to the upside. So, you know, hopefully, congratulations to those of you. Let's just talk for a minute about what the Bitcoin miners did today, because there were some stunning moves today. But first, one more time, we are at 71 likes. Thank you very much. If you guys could smash the like button, it does help the channel out. It helps the stream out in real time. So it is much appreciated if you are willing, if you enjoy the stream, if you want to help the channel. Thank you very much. Okay, so let's talk about what some of these Bitcoin miners did. George, before I keep rambling, any interjections? I know I've been I haven't
No,
even
but
taken a breath.
well, you know what's funny though is I think about this. This is like a second opportunity to this was like a second opportunity to get back into these companies. You know, because like you said in July they were really pumping, and then they came back, and now they're starting. It looks like they're going to start running again. And it's really interesting because you don't realize that because I wasn't in it in July. I missed it. And I was like yelling and screaming the whole time as I watched all you guys make money, which bothered me. I'm not going to lie, but my decisions were I thought it was going in a different direction. And it's funny how each day you could see it, but looking back is always 2020, correct, right? But going forward, you just miss. I just if we could get back down to $4. I mean, can you imagine? Just think about it. CleanSpark was just what 21 days ago was at $3.50, and now today here we are almost $6.50. I mean, it's crazy to think about it that way. But don't miss it. I don't know if it's going to do it again, Tom. Is it going to go back down to 350, or is it going to kind of just hang out here? Just for an example, CleanSpark, let alone everybody else.
I mean, that's the multi-million billion dollar
Yeah.
question. What comes next? So for me, I'm a longer term investor. I know everybody has different ways that they invest. Some of you may do all three. There's long term investing, there's swing trading, there's day trading, and there's nothing wrong with doing a combination of those things if you have the experience and know how to do them. If you don't have a lot of time, most of us just dollar cost average in on a long term basis. This is where it gets really hard. Bitcoin just had CleanSpark just had an 85% run up in 2.5 weeks. So it is very, very, very tempting to get out. My concept is this. We're still not back to where we were in July when Bitcoin was at 31,000. So as tempting as it is, and I was very, very tempted today to sell CleanSpark, I literally write down my plans, and it's not like I have some unbelievably formal, plan on the wall, but I make notes and I write down like, this is my strategy with this stock. And it's for days like today. There's all different types of days where, emotionally, I want to do bad things, things that are not, things not.
Where are you going with this, Tom?
Things that are not on my stock trading plan. Like I did not have written today. It was not in my plan to sell CleanSpark today. So CleanSpark had a great day. It was up 14.34%. But that shouldn't change. That's one day. Now, you could say, well, it's been a couple of weeks and it's up 85%. All true. My plan was not to just get back to the highs from this summer. I think that CleanSpark is a candidate for a multiple X move to the upside. So I'm not going to try to time. For those of you who are good at this, if you hit the, if you bought here in May, if you sold in July, if you bought back in October, and you think it's time to sell again, then you're better than I am at this. And maybe some of you are doing that. For me, I'm looking at, we're still 4.5 or 5 months away from the halving. We're nowhere near what would be the normal peak of the Bitcoin 4-year cycle. Now, there's no guarantee that this cycle will act like previous cycles, but I think that a lot of things are setting up, not just the Bitcoin cycle. I think a lot of things are lining up nicely for the next 12 to 18 months to be a very, very big run for Bitcoin, in my opinion, and for the Bitcoin miners, that I have a high level of conviction in. If you watch the channel, I do a lot of deep dives on all of the large Bitcoin miners. If you remember, we've been doing deep dives on some of the less popular Bitcoin miners lately. So, I think there's going to be, I don't think it's throwing a dart at the board like it was, in 2021, where everything just went to the moon. I do think some of these are going to have epic runs. I do also think some of them are not going to make it. So I think it becomes more and more important to make a plan, know your plan, stick to your plan.
I try.
It's not easy, but I know particularly we talk about this and with the members a lot. I know a lot of the members, are very, very diligent, and they have researched the stocks, and they have a very high levels of conviction. One of the things that I try to tell people is, and I have to check myself on this. I watch YouTube. Like, I have some people that I really respect their opinion, and I think they're right a lot more than they're wrong. And when I see them have a super high level of conviction in something, it can be contagious. But I do my absolute best to not let their conviction be my conviction, because I know if I haven't done the research myself, and that doesn't mean everybody's got to spend their 40 hours, 100 hours, but you should know your stock. If you're just buying it because somebody said so, and they were very convincing when they said so, when times are tough, that's why people buy high and sell low. So, right now we're in the opposite. We're starting to have a little bit of a run up, but that could change tomorrow.
It could.
If that answers whatever the original question was.
No, it does. It does. Was, I missed the opportunity the second time around, and the first time, remember, it was going up, and I was all jealous of you bastards making all that money, and I didn't make any. Yeah, no, that was correct.
And
Sorry.
But here's a key thing that you just mentioned, George. Like, we got a giant opportunity, and I can tell you, I don't have to tell you. If you guys are bored, you can read my comments section over the last month. All through this period right here, I can't tell you the hundreds and hundreds of comments that I got that these stocks are garbage. This is a dumpster fire. Every one of these Bitcoin miners is trash. All the Bitcoin miners are going to zero. Like, there's people kick these stocks when they're down, and it's human nature, right? This gigantic pullback, if you don't know the underlying story behind this, sometimes it's fundamentals, sometimes it's technicals, sometimes it's momentum, and you got to try to pull apart which pieces are which. I think a lot of this is, CleanSpark still hasn't caught up to its fundamentals, in my opinion. So why did it run up 85%? I don't know. I could not have predicted that 2 weeks ago. I do know it was kind of bumping off of a line of support, so I wasn't surprised to see it take a move to the upside, but this was a vicious move to the upside. I don't think it's done, only because I think Bitcoin's not done running. Let's go back to the Bitcoin chart and see what is going on. So
you have a poll?
Let's get a poll going, and you can see this is going to be a race to the finish line. For those of you just joining us, this purple line at 37,885, that is our highest daily candle close of the year in 2023. We have been above this line for almost 6 hours now. We just candle wicked below it for the first time in the last 6 hours. What I'm really hoping is that we have a new high of the year on the daily candle close. So I'm looking for two things. That's number one. Number two is we got within $30 of the high for the year 2023, up here at 38,454. So I'm hoping that we close out the day with a little bit of a momentum and get one of those things. From a technical standpoint, higher high would be a good thing, but it's not the be all end all. If we happen to not hit these things today, we could very well do both of these things tomorrow. And I still won't take off the table the fact that, we could get a pullback. We were setting up for a pullback, and I think there's a specific reason we didn't get it. In 2023, we had 3 20+% pullbacks on Bitcoin. It appeared we were in the perfect setup to have maybe another 10, 15, 20% pullback. And, I think that I'll just use this and switch charts. I think there's several reasons, but one big reason that did not happen was, and I'm not going to get into this too much right now. We talked about this a lot on the members only stream. This is the DXY. This is the strength of the dollar versus the US dollar versus foreign currencies. You can see this is on a big pullback. This tends to have an inverse relationship with Bitcoin. So I think as Bitcoin was setting up from a technical standpoint to have a big pullback, it got a push to kind of stay even, where typically I think this would have been a 10 or 15 or 20% pullback. You'll see in that window of time, that just didn't really happen. These two lines were the lines we're looking for. And we still don't know. We could still get that. But it almost feels to me like now we've moved on from that. And I feel like the next leg is up. So let's have that be our poll. Hello, Seth. Seth says hello from Texas. Welcome.
Seth. It's so weird when it's quiet, Tom.
I never heard you be quiet. What's fill the void?
What do you mean? I gotta leave soon, by the way.
Okay.
Becky just got back from New York. New York City?
Oh, she's back.
Yep. She's making the journey.
I'll put this last option in.
Uh-oh, here comes a poll. You know what's crazy is we were drilling on Bitfarms on Friday last week about how you felt that it was going to pump.
Yeah, I should have pulled a clip from that.
Negative Tom, thank you.
For those of you who weren't with us on last Friday's stream, we do have a live stream every Friday, and Bitcoin made an announcement last week. And to me, I think this was the easiest setup of the year. So I had said on last Friday's live stream, as well as several other times, I thought that within the next week, we would be getting a big announcement from Bitcoin that they were making a huge purchase. They did a stock dilution. And so we had talked about the fact that they would do a stock dilution and the stock would go down, which it did. And then they would have a huge announcement and the stock would go up. Now, it actually went up more than even I expected. Bitfarms was up 26.4% today. I mean, that is a dramatic move to the upside. We'll talk more about what they did. Let me post this poll. But thank you, George, for pointing that out. We tried to...
That's why it's important to be here for every stream.
Be here for every stream. We did talk about this a lot. I did put in our members Discord, that not financial advice. I always have to say that, but I do, try to let people know when I'm doing things. And extremely, might have been the only time all year, I actually, because Bitfarms made that announcement after hours, I bought shares after hours yesterday, and I caught it before it started to. So they put an announcement out after hours, and Bitfarms didn't move. It just sat there for like an hour or two. So I seized the opportunity and bought in, and caught this whole 26% move. Then the last couple hours of after hours trading, it started to move up pretty fast, but nothing like this. And then today was just off the charts. So even if you waited till the morning, you still could have caught a lot of this run today. All right.
And I forgot all about it. Well, whatever.
So our poll is, what is Bitcoin's next move by end of year? So that's really only 5 or 6 weeks. Well, I guess it's like 5 weeks from now. So are we going up? Are we going to up? I chose 42,000. So is the next move to the up? Are we going to go down? I put retest. I have a purple line here that I thought we were going to go retest this line. I really did. And so far it has not happened. And now I will tell you, now I don't think we're going to retest this line. So of course that'll probably be when it happens. But I keep mentioning it because it is still well within reason. You know, this would only be, even from right now, this would be a 10% pullback, which for Bitcoin is nothing. So, you know, that it would not be a shocking result if we go down and retest 34,000. I'm on record. I don't think that's going to happen. I think the next move is to the upside. So, you know, I'll let you know what my vote. I'm not allowed to vote in my own polls, but I would have voted it up to 42,000. George, what's your word?
I did. I went up to 42,000, Tom.
All right.
I think it's a no-brainer.
Oh,
We've
nice.
We've been saying that for a long time. Now, after 42, well, we can talk.
Well, that's right. That doesn't mean it's there forever. We don't know what's next. I'm going to go back to the 15-minute because this looks like it is just, I mean, this is at the line. Don't fail us now. Come on. And I'm not.
Isn't it? I always find it funny. Isn't it crazy how that it goes right there?
I know these technical lines are there for a reason, and they're not rocket science. And, you know, traders trade off of them. It would be nice. We're moving back, so I'm not going to micromanage it. We'll keep our eye. I'll leave the 15-minute chart up for most of the stream because it looks like we're there. We're $5 away from the line right now. So looking for a new highest daily candle close of the year 2023. Even if we don't get that, at this point, I mean, just to take stock, from yesterday's close until right now, we're up 2.87%. At the peak of the day, we were up about 4.5%. So Bitcoin had a nice day. Wherever we end the day, this was a healthy day for Bitcoin. And now finally, let's go through some of the winners here and talk about what the Bitcoin miners did, because this was off the charts for some of the miners. Bitfarms was up 26.42%. We talked about that. That was the number one performer on the day. CleanSpark was up 14.34%. That was the number two performer of the day. But when we look at those charts and we took a look at CleanSpark, that's, you know, that in a 2.5 week window, that's on about an 85% run to the upside. That's a massive move. But this is not the last time that's going to happen in all likelihood. This is how the Bitcoin miners move. Bitcoin is volatile. We all know that. Bitcoin miners are more volatile. They're much, much smaller market caps. Even the quote big market cap companies in here are still only around $2.5 billion, and that would be Marathon and Riot. And so, you know, both of those, Riot just under a 9% move, Marathon just under a 10% move to the upside. Those are massive moves for the two largest by market cap by a mile. Just take a break here. We just got a super chat from Lee. Lee, thank you very much. $ Jesus coin is blessing while sending the message of love. And we finally have more to talk about than just price action. Spreading the gospel. All right. Well, thank you. Thank you for the message.
Thank you, Lee. Spread it.
That's right. Much appreciated.
I didn't even know there was a Jesus coin.
I don't know if there is one. I don't.
Oh, I'm looking it up.
Yeah,
you know me.
Out, scope it out, George. Look it up. Mark is saying Iris paid big today. So Iris was one of the big winners. So let's keep going because I think, yeah, actually,
the last 90 days, it's up 1,528%.
Jesus coined?
Yeah. It's 177 million market cap.
So it's still a very, very small market cap.
The last 7 days, it's 158%. up, and it's 0.0
All right.
6 more zeros 228374.
Whoa. So this is one of
The
those
number, the supply is 77777. That's awesome.
billions, trillions. I mean, it must be massive,
Trillions,
massive.
trillions. Yeah, 777.778 trillion.
I want to get to Mark because I actually went out of order. I said CleanSpark was
Sorry.
in second at 14.34%, but actually Mark has pointed out Iris Energy had a big day. Iris Energy was up 15% even on the day today. So that is
Wow, that's huge.
that's a massive move to the upside. And I'm going to take a time out and show Iris's chart because they're probably the second biggest run recently.
More than you guys are nuts.
So if we see,
Wow, this poll is unbelievable. By the way.
oh, should we check in on the poll?
Yeah,
For those of you who have
wow.
not voted, it is free to vote on the poll, so you're welcome. I don't know if some devices make it difficult or not, but or if you just don't have an opinion. Right now, it's a runaway right now. So the next move up to 42,000 out of the three options, that's at 74%. So an overwhelming majority at this point. Cast your votes again. It is free. So let us know what your thoughts are. Iris Energy, which had a tough run, they put out a big announcement. We've talked about it at great length on the channel, so I don't want to relive it. Everybody has some pretty strong feelings both ways. But they put out a massive announcement. The stock pulled back quite a bit after that. After already, like all the other Bitcoin miners, you know, this stock had a similar run. From its highs in July to its lows, this was down 65%. So most of the Bitcoin miners were down, 40 or 50 or 60. Some were down even in the 70s% off of their highs from July. So the Bitcoin miners got beat up badly. But you're going to see the last 4 days, Iris Energy's been on fire. So in the last 4 days, this is over a 50% move to the upside. That's a gigantic move, right? I mean, that's what you get on these small cap stocks. That's what we're looking for out of, these are high risk, high reward. So if we're going to feel the pain, for those of you who hung in there, this is the type of reward we should expect. And this should not be the end. I mean, Iris Energy is still from its highs from this summer. It's still down the better part of, 45 or 46% from its summer highs. So, there's a lot more room to the upside despite, a 4-day. But, let's give a shout out. 4-day 50% move to the upside is fantastic. Phonebook-san, thank you for the super chat. Thank you very much. Phonebook-san said, Tom loses money on this channel. Hold on, it's slipping away. Our accounts are up 20% plus today. Give the man some cash. Thank you, Phonebook-san, for the super chat and the shout out. Much appreciated. Any other thoughts? You can leave your thoughts. Thanks for the super chat. Anyway, Iris Energy, for members, that I actually moved out of this position. So I did not get this 50% run, but I did move that money over to CleanSpark. So, I'm okay with what happened, but congratulations to those of you, for those of you who stuck this out. And this was a long road. You can see this took a big move at the beginning of October, from the beginning of October to the really 2/3 of November. This was sideways with a bias to the down. So that was a very tough time to hold on to this stock. And I know a lot of members did hold on to the stock. Drop in the chat if you held on to this and caught this 50% run up, or if you bought in at the bottom here and caught the run up. I did feel like it was going to take too long for this to get back to where it was, and I personally made a move. But again, I always tell everybody, this is not financial advice. You guys should not do what I do or what George does. You know, we let you know what we do. But, you know, everybody's right sometimes and wrong sometimes. Okay, let's keep going down the list. So the three biggest moves on the day were Bitfarms up 26%, Iris up 15%, Cleanspark up 14%. But I want to look at the Bitfarms chart for a minute because you'll see, unlike the other two, so Iris has a 50% move to the upside in the last 4 days. Cleanspark's had an 85+% move in the last 2.5 weeks. Bitfarms with this giant move to the upside, and this is why, to me, this was just so highly likely. You know, nothing is a certainty, so, but some setups just appear easier than others. Bitfarms was here last week and the week before, right? So this pulled back big time on some stock dilution. But the key was in their earnings call and in several press releases, they had already tipped their hand and said, we are skipping the XPs. Bitfarms did not buy one single XP ASIC machine. They chose to skip that generation of machines, build up their balance sheet, save their money, and they bought the 21s. They told us they were going to do this. So when an announcement came out, and it wasn't an at the market offering, it was a private offering where they raised $44 million, and effectively it's actually it was $60 million Canadian, which I think was about $44 million. In addition to that, there was another $20 or $22 million. It's going to be $60+ million, $66 million in warrants that are exercisable at $1.17. Well, we're a week later and we've already took that out by a mile. So I think you can expect those are probably going to all get exercised. So it was clear what they were going to do with that money. They told us what they were going to do with that money. And sure enough, it took less than 1 week and an announcement comes out just as we expected. I will say it was even better than expected. They're at 6.3 exahash right now. I did listen to, they did a conference call today. So I listened to that. They went into detail. They did a presentation. I won't go through that. Let me know in the chat if you guys want me to do a video on that. It was a comprehensive presentation. But effectively, they're going to retire, I think, 46,000 of their existing machines. And I shouldn't say retire. They're going to, what's the word that they used? They're going to, give me a second. They're going to unrack them. So they haven't committed to selling them. They did say they could get between $12 and $15 million for them if they choose to sell them, but they're going to unrack them and they're going to put all their new machines in their place. And, sometime by the middle of 2024, they're going to be at 12 exahash. And it's going to be basically mostly all their new machines. So they're going to double their exahash. They're still going to have these machines. It seemed to me on the conference call, I think they're going to put these back in some other places that where they have some optionality to turn them on and off based on the spot price of energy and other variables. And past that, they've got an option for another 28,000 machines. They expect to be by mid 2024. They expect to be at 17 exahash. And there's the potential for them to get to 21 exahash, although I think they would have to spend some more money to get there. So you're talking now about a company that's put themselves in. You've got Marathon, obviously from an exahash standpoint, they're way out ahead of everybody. You've got Riot that has a lot of exahash, and they made a big purchase order. Now, their execution, despite the fact they're one of my high conviction plays for a lot of other reasons, their execution as far as mining Bitcoin, in my opinion, has been subpar. But we'll see. Hopefully they can change that. But Marathon, Riot, and you've got CleanSpark about to get to 16 exahash, and they've already shared their plans to get to 20 exahash.
Tom, I'm gonna leave and then I'm gonna try to jump back on as I'm in the car. But Duckman asked about Stronghold.
All right.
And then read this comment. Somebody wrote, "That's a great idea." I always wonder about this one. This is like my type of thinking. Ruts GA or what do you think about buying the weakest Bitcoin miner?
Investing.
And then
what do we? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear that.
Sorry. What do you think about buying the weakest Bitcoin stock miner from now until the end of the year? Tax loss selling has made these weak stocks even weaker. January's, then the selling is over. What do you think? Buy the weakest one, and who is the weakest one in your opinion?
I'll go to it.
Would you do that? And I'm sorry, but I'll be back.
All right, George, thank you, and I'll leave a spot open for you.
Okay.
So, hopefully we'll see you in a bit. To me, I mean, that is a strategy. If Bitcoin pumps between now and the end of the year, it is quite possible that the majority of these Bitcoin miners are going to have a nice run. But I do think, as I said earlier in the stream, if you were not here, I've been saying for almost all year this year, I think there's going to be some big winners, but I do think there will be some losers in this space. Let me switch the way the screen works there. Okay, so that is not a strategy I would take, but it's a high risk strategy, but it could have a high reward. What I would say, as evidence to the contrary, and let me, I'm not sure if you guys can see this, but there were two stocks today that on a day where the Bitcoin miners were ballistic, there were two stocks that were in the red. Any, which is Sphere 3D, was down 4.5%, and Core Scientific was down just under 7%. So, to that person's point, I would be very hesitant to take that approach. Now, as a short-term swing trade, maybe that'll work out. I'd rather have my money in the plays that I have a high conviction in, because it's entirely possible. Give me a minute to pull up a chart. All right, this is just going to take me 30 seconds, but it is worth looking at. In the meantime, if you have not voted in the poll, you're free to vote. The question is, what's Bitcoin's next move? Right now, the overwhelming answer is that people think Bitcoin is going to move. The next move is to the upside. Up to 42,000 is winning dramatically. So, all right, let me pull up this chart. Okay. So I actually want to go to year to date. So this is what happened last week. So you can see last week there was a bunch of miners in the red. There was some big movers. CleanSpark was up 42%. Iris was up 25%. TerraWolf had a nice week. That's been a lagger all year. So this strategy would have worked for TerraWolf last week. But Any was down 14% last week. But that's not what I want to look at. What I really want to look at is this chart. So to whoever asked that, to your point, there's three stocks that are in the red year to date. Stronghold is down 10%. Any's down 59%. Mawson's down 60%. Bear in mind, this was as of Friday. So obviously we've had Monday and Tuesday. We've had some big moves. Unfortunately for Any, they continue to move to the downside. They were red even today. And then you've got Argo Blockchain that's up only 9% so far year to date. So I believe the market's lost confidence in these four stocks. I'm not expecting necessarily for these to be the biggest rallies between now and the end of the year. I think you're going to see some of the sleepers in here that have underperformed versus Bitcoin's performance. The stock has underperformed, but the companies performed, above average. So I think there's some of these left that have some runs left in them. So I'd rather be in some of those than hope that somehow in the last month of the year, the market's going to change their mind on Mawson or any. I think these two companies need a catalyst. Left on their own, it's clear. I mean, Bitcoin's up 100 as of Friday. Bitcoin was up 128%, and these stocks were down basically 60% in that same period of time. That is complete and utter disaster for those shareholders. And it's hard enough to be a Bitcoin mining shareholder over the last 2 years. It's been brutal if you're one of these companies. Now, somehow, if these companies make it, maybe there's some upside ahead somewhere over the rainbow. I don't know. These are not my high conviction plays, but that's just my opinion. And I think it was Duckman who, as always, asks about Stronghold, and I give the same answer. I love this company. And if you don't know what Stronghold does, for the members, I've done a couple of deep dives on this. They're basically cleaning up toxic waste. I think it's 500 billion tons of toxic waste made from coal over the last 150 years in Pennsylvania. It's, draining into the soil, into the water. It's a big mess. This company has found a way to utilize that waste and convert it to energy, and they're mining Bitcoin with that energy. The problem for Stronghold is they had to get rid of a lot of their fleet during the crypto winter. Debt kind of got the better of them, and they're not really the same company they were. Now, they do have a lot of assets other than their Bitcoin miners. This is a full-blown energy company. They have a business model that I think a lot of people would be very, very interested in. I think my personal opinion for Stronghold is their best chance is to hold out, survive the halving, and then sell, to one of the other companies. And maybe get some upside in that manner, because I just think it's going to be hard for them to get to the other side over the next 12 to 18 months. So I wish them the best. I think their company's doing a good thing. And, maybe they find a way to do this in some other form. But for me, this is certainly not one of my high conviction stocks. And, as I've been talking about for a long time, I think the market in particular is looking at these 4 stocks, and they're very concerned about these companies. I have a few more past that I'm concerned about that, are in this group that, are up quite a bit more than that, but I still have some concerns. But that's my personal opinion. Let's get back to the Bitcoin chart. All right, so you can see it's like, I think this is a fight here to the finish line. We had a green 15-minute candle, and now we're a little bit red. We are now $9 above our previous highest daily candle close of the year, and now we just dipped below it. So I'm not going to follow this second by second, but you can see, like, we're right here. We're going to see what happens, but it's going to be very, very close. I think more important than that is, what happens tomorrow? What happens the rest of this week? I'm going to go to the 1 day. The question is, are we going to get rejected here again? You can see we had a line, this purple line, we candle wicked up to this on November 9th. We had a daily close on this on November 15th. We candle wicked up to it again on November 22nd. So that was 3 times. 4th time was the charm. We did get through this. So we broke through that resistance. I'll just zoom in on this a little more. So, 5 days ago, on Friday, we took this out and got a new all-time high for the year. We did pull back and did not, beat this daily close, but we got a new all-time high. So now here we are. You can see today I mean, this is just about as almost as perfect a retest as you can possibly get. We got within $30 of the high for the year on 2023. For the moment, it looks like on the day anyway, we're going to get rejected here. But you can see we did hit a mark and then get rejected once, twice, and then the third time we broke through it. So, you know, one rejection does not mean we're headed in the wrong direction and, you know, the next move is down. It would be nice, you know, if we don't catch it today, let's see if we can get it tomorrow or the next day or sometime in the next, you know, 3 to 5 days. If we can break through this, I still am very much expecting this the move to 40,000 and then 42,000 between now and the end of the year. I think there's an outside chance, you know, if things get crazy, we might get to 45,000. More realistically, I'm looking for the $40,000 to $42,000 range over the next 5 weeks. That would be a win, in my opinion, particularly if you were to tell somebody not too long ago, we were bouncing off of in September. So this is just, you know, less than 2.5 months ago, we were bouncing off of 25,000. So, you know, if you were to tell somebody on that day, hey, would you take a $42,000 close for the year? You know, pretty much universally, I think people in Bitcoin and the Bitcoin miners, investors would have been very, very pleased with that result. So I like, you know, this has been great action. This, all of the year 2024, we have been in a bull market. I'm going to go to the weekly just to take a look at that. I mean, you can see this is the year. We bottomed out in November. This was the FTX, this gigantic move to the downside. We double bottomed in late November. Since then, I mean, this has just been a bull market. Yes, we've had 20% pullbacks. We had one here. We had another one here. We had another one here. I had mentioned earlier in the stream, I thought maybe we would get one more, but it looks like we've avoided that. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 weekly candles that are green at this point. So this has been a gigantic, gigantic bull run. And this is not, you know, we're not in the bull part of the 4-year cycle at all. So typically, if things hold, you know, true to what has happened in previous cycles, we could be a year away from that, maybe more. Now, I'm not convinced that every cycle has not been identical. We don't know what's in store in the next cycle. There's some very big catalysts out there. You know, most obviously a Bitcoin ETF is a gigantic catalyst. We did do, in one of our live streams, we did do a poll. Would a Bitcoin spot ETF be the largest catalyst for Bitcoin in the history of Bitcoin? And overwhelmingly, people said yes, they thought that would be the single largest catalyst Bitcoin has ever had. I do think that it would be. And I think that will cause, you know, a little bit of different behavior in this cycle, but if anything, you know, in a positive way. So we'll see. I don't, you know, it's tough. These longer term predictions are tough. It's Bitcoin is very difficult on this, you know, prediction stuff. But I think most of us would agree we're just, you know, we're a year into a very nice bull market. We're up way over 100% from the bottom to the top. This is not from the beginning of the year. From the bottom I'll go from, you know, November 21st until, you know, today's high. We're getting very close to 150% move to the upside. That is a very nice bull run. So yes, we'll probably have some pullbacks between now and the halving. I'm going to view those as buying opportunities, you know, depending on, you know, the size and nature of them. But I'm with the rest of this group. I'll end this poll. I mean, it's clear. What is Bitcoin's next move? 76% say we're going to move up. Down. 15% think we're going to go retest 34,000. So that's something we talked about. That is this purple line right here. It doesn't look so dramatic on the 1 week. back to the 1 day. So that would be a 10% correction from where we are right now. So, you know, that would not be unusual. That would not be bearish. It would not be unusual. So that's not an unreasonable expectation. I don't think it's going to happen, but I would not be in any way surprised. Sideways for the next month, 9% think we're going to keep going sideways. We've been a little bit sideways here for, you know, since, well, this was only November 9th. I mean, that's not that long ago. We're closing in on the daily candle close, and right now we are in the red. We are underneath the purple line. So hopefully, I don't want anybody to be let down if we don't close above these lines. It would have been nice, and we still very well might. We've got, you know, almost a half an hour left, and, you know, anything can happen in a short period of time. It would have been nice, but I think my bigger point is it looks to me like we just made a nice move to the upside. We just retested our high for the year. You can see this tiny little gap here is about $30. So we had a very near perfect retest of our high for 2023. I think that bodes well. You know, 2 or 3, sometimes it takes 2 or 3 times or 4 times before we break through. So, you know, time will tell. We'll have to wait and see what happens. I did do, for those of you who are interested, we do have, the channel does have a membership. We only charge $5 a month. It's got to be the cheapest membership of any channel. And I do think there's a lot of benefits to it. There's a weekly members-only live stream. We have a members-only Discord. And I do a special video each week for the members that's chosen by the members. So if you want to help support the channel, if you enjoy this content, and in particular lately, we just did back-to-back Bitcoin miner deep dives. A lot of the Bitcoin miners, most of the public, there's just not enough interest in them. So, you know, they don't set themselves up for a video, but they do, I do like to do them for the members only. And the members choose the videos that I do. So, you know, it's been the members that have been picking. Back-to-back weeks, a Bitcoin miner has won the vote and been the members' pick. So that was Cypher and Bit Digital. So Cypher video just came out. The Bit Digital video, I think I'm going to put out tomorrow. It's already done. So if you're interested, that is in the members section. If you have not yet subscribed, of course, it is free to subscribe to the channel. So it would be much appreciated if you enjoy the channel, if you enjoy the content. It helps us out if you subscribe. And obviously, of course, you can smash the like button. I'd like to thank everybody. We're way over 100 likes. So much appreciated. Thank you for smashing the like button. If you have not and you enjoy the content, please feel free to smash the like button. Oh, okay. I'm just catching up. I'm taking a look at, usually George reads the chat for me because I'm not a great multitasker, and then we talk about it that way. But I'm trying to take a peek at the chat right now to see what's going on. Chuck said, know what I call 40,000? Tuesday. Chuck is a member. So Chuck's calling it nothing. That's just the beginning. Peter said, I think Tom is a closet Mara investor. It is so funny. And now we're having a little bit of a move to the downside, but very small. Like half the world thinks that I absolutely love Marathon, and half the world thinks that I absolutely despise Marathon. I don't know why that is, but and it's not as much anymore, but for a long time, emotions were very high regarding Marathon. If you watch my most recent video, I do a public deep dive on Marathon, Riot, usually CleanSpark, Bitfarms every single month. Those have the highest level of interest. Those have the most retail investors in them. So I try and keep everybody up to date on those. I've been very positive on Marathon. I think they're doing a lot of things right. I think they got some stuff. They got to handle. Their cost per coin's too high. And I know a lot of people say, well, in the middle of the bull run, it's not going to matter. But, it does. Every bit matters, especially when you're investing. You don't necessarily want to just invest. For me, my investment thesis is not, we're definitely having a bull run. I'm just going to invest in the Bitcoin miners that are going to do well in the middle of the bull run. I like to strike a balance where, there are several Bitcoin miners that I think have hit the sweet spot where, regardless of what Bitcoin does in the next 6 or 12 months, they're going to be good investments. The companies are strong and, they're going to do well. Now, I will say, to Marathon's benefit, their balance sheet is very, very strong. So I do think they're one of the companies that it doesn't matter what the price of Bitcoin is at the halving for Marathon. In fact, if you listen to their conference call, and I've talked about this a couple of times on the channel, Fred, who's the CEO, he all but said, well, I won't say all but, they actually did say their data is showing that, they're not expecting good things for the price of Bitcoin between now and the halving. And he further said that he thinks there's going to be some companies that run into trouble, and there's some companies that have already reached out to Marathon to talk about consolidation or getting bought out. So I think they're expecting some organic growth, some inorganic growth in or around the halving or sometime after the halving, when some of these companies are maybe struggling based on, they called it their internal data. They think that, the price of Bitcoin maybe isn't going to be where people want it to be. Now, that's their opinion. I disagree with them. I remain bullish on Bitcoin going into the halving and coming out of the halving. I think it's going to be at healthy numbers. So, I would be very, very surprised. And of course, I shouldn't be, because the way Bitcoin goes, nothing should surprise any of us. But if Bitcoin's at 30 or 35,000 at the halving, that is lower than my low case scenario. So that would surprise me. The global hash rate continues to grow. It is going to grow at a fairly consistent basis. It looks like, just based on the announcements that we've seen from the publicly traded companies in the US, or North America, I should say, we're going to see a lot of exahash added to the global hash rate. So, I think that tells us that the Bitcoin miners as a group are bullish on Bitcoin, and, they believe that they're going to be able to survive the halving, which tells me they think it's going to be at a number, that's not $30,000. So I think, I'll just tell you my number, and this isn't precise, but I would expect at least, somewhere in the $50,000 range at the halving. And remember, the halving is not normally when Bitcoin peaks at all. So that's not, we could be 6 or 12 months away from the peak of the bull cycle at the time of the halving, which is going to be in April. So, I think if you look around, you're going to see a lot of numbers: 100, 150,000, 200,000. I saw 300,000. I mean, if you watch enough videos, and I'm not talking about obscure people, a lot of the high profile people in the Bitcoin mining universe think we're going to hit, between 100 and 250,000 in this next cycle, depending on which one of them you look at. So let's make that our next poll. So overwhelmingly, people think the next move's up to 42,000, despite the fact the last few 15-minute candles are making it look like we're not going to break the high daily candle close for the year. But it's not over yet. We got a few more minutes. But let's just put one more poll up here. me a second, just typing this. Thank you for your patience. It takes me just a minute to type these polls. All right. All right, so I'm using big margins here. So this is the question. Bitcoin's high in the 2020, I'm calling it the 2024-2025 cycle. I think most people think somewhere in that range is when Bitcoin's going to hit its next high, its peak. So, do we think it's going to be under 80,000? And then there's a reason I put that on there. I'll tell you in a minute. Do we think it's going to be between 80 and 150,000? So the last peak was at 69,000, call it 70,000. So 140,000 would be double the previous cycle. So somewhere between a 1 and 2x from the previous cycle. 150,000 to 200,000. Or do we think it's going to be over 200,000? I will tell you the reason I put under 80,000. 1 month ago, I did this poll, and overwhelmingly, under 80,000 was the winner. So, I think we're going to see sentiment has changed pretty drastically in that period of time. We were having a conversation. There were people talking about 40,000, 30,000. So, you know, this is how much people can swing. And those were tough. Remember, there were tough times. There was a big pullback in October, was a little bit of an ugly month. And people were getting very bearish. Let's see when we really took off. This candle right here was October 23rd. But really, if you go back to October 16th, so that's just, that's 5 weeks ago. 5 weeks ago, we were 3 or 4 months into, sideways and down in Bitcoin. This was a very, this was overnight. This would have been about 100 days. From that candle to this candle was 95 days. So in 95 days, we were down 15 or 16%. So you can see why 5 weeks ago, people were not feeling good about where Bitcoin was going. So, however, fortunately, since then, the exact opposite has happened. We've had a very nice move to the upside. So from the top to the bottom, remember, we have had 20% pullbacks. So from the top to the bottom, this was about 21.5%. The tough part of this was it then lingered. This was the middle. It then went on for another month plus, just kind of going sideways from there. And that was really, really, 95 days in cryptocurrency. That's like, that seems like, it feels like forever. So far right now, it looks like between 80,000 and 150,000 has got 60% of the vote. So that is by far the winner. we still do have under 80,000 at 12%. So I'm not even going to say that's bearish. I mean, 80,000 is still more than a double from here. So, you know, that's certainly a possibility. 150,000 to 200,000, 22% think it's going to be in that range. Over 200,000 is in last place with 6%. So that would be a very, very bullish scenario. So it is not surprising that that's in last place. But still at 6%. And I don't rule it out. I mean, we don't know. One of the big things we don't know is the long-term effects of, and I won't say the long-term, the medium-term effects of what is inevitably going to be a Bitcoin spot ETF, or more likely, you know, 10 or 12 Bitcoin spot ETFs, I think sometime between now and the halving. So, you know, we're going to see what the ramifications of that are, because Bitcoin supply is very, very low right now, and it continues to get smaller and smaller and smaller. So, you know, depending on what kind of pressure that puts on the supply-demand equation, we could see a move to the upside that might surprise people. I know a lot of people think that, you know, the big institutions have already behind the scenes started to seed these ETFs, so that maybe there won't be that knee-jerk massive move to the upside right away. But that supply and demand will catch up, even if they have done so and they avoid, you know, some massive move in the days or weeks following the approval of the spot ETFs. Adoption is going to occur over months and years. So I think that's going to have a big effect. Mark said, Tom is the captain now. I don't know why. Maybe because George is gone. Alexander said, keep in mind that selling some stock on daily runs will mess you up on taxes with short-term gains. So that is also something else to keep in mind, right? If you're buying and selling, and that's okay, right? Everybody's got different strategies, but it's important to remember, you know, if you're even swing trading, you know, that's almost certainly going to result in short-term capital gains if it was a positive swing trade. So always bear that in mind, that, you know, and I don't know everybody's tax situation, and, you know, I know we have a very awesome diverse group from many different countries around the world, and there's different tax situations in all of those countries, but I can speak to the US where, you know, those become short-term capital gains, to Alexander's point. Also, one of the things as long as we're talking about taxes, on Bitfarms conference call today, they did mention there's a value-added tax to these Bitcoin miners. They're paying 15% additional tax. I don't know if that's by province or if that's by the entire country. They seem to indicate it was the entire country of Canada. There was a value-added tax imposed on the Bitcoin miners. And they were talking about potentially getting an exemption from that. A lot of their exahash that's coming online is not in Canada. So I'm not exactly sure what that rule is. I will also say this might be one of the reasons HUT is merging. As you guys probably know, HUT is going through a merger. A part of that merger, they will now be a US company, not a Canadian company. And, you know, that may exempt them from this value added tax. It will certainly exempt them. The majority of their Bitcoin mining will not be in Canada post merger, and they will not be a Canadian company. So 15% is a lot of money. So, you know, that's that could be an underlying reason. You know, they haven't really necessarily talked about that. We will, for those of you who don't know, we will be having Sue Ennis on the channel next week from HUT 8 to talk about the merger. and, you know, what to expect going forward. So I hope that you guys will join us for that. All right, we got 7. I think the daily candle closes in 7 minutes unless daylight savings time has messed me up. So we need a little run to break our high for the year on the daily candle close. We're at 37,800. We need to get back to 37,885. So it's only, you know, less than $100, which could happen in 1 minute. But the clock is ticking. We're running out of time. Let's see. Trying to keep up with Crypto Fever said, if you read BlackRock's investor presentation, they are already laying the groundwork for how and how much should be invested into Bitcoin and for how long. Crypto Fever, the pension funds don't need to invest a lot. They can put less than 1%, and they most certainly will. Yeah, I mean, if you look at, I know, you know, a lot of people have broken this down. Kathy Wood has actually put pen to paper and, you know, outlined, you know, her exact thesis on how much of all of these gigantic multi-trillion-dollar pools of money that really are not in Bitcoin at all yet, on, you know, how much has to move in to affect the price of Bitcoin. And, you know, to Crypto Fever's point, it does not have to be massive amounts of money. 1 or 2% of that money will do astronomical things to the price of Bitcoin. Let's see. Edmund said, I'm not sure what SHA said. Oh, SHA, they think BlackRock will sell Bitcoin spot ETF to pension funds. They will certainly not buy such a risky thing. To be honest. And then Edmund is saying, at SHA, I disagree. Many advisors will recommend a 1 to 5% Bitcoin ETF weighting. Yeah, I think it is extremely highly likely that and the question is, to me, the question is not if, but when. How long is it going to take for adoption? I think every pool of money out there will ultimately have some level of adoption. You know, this is turning into an asset class. It's very, 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 you know, nascent at this point. This is still a very new cryptocurrency universe in its entirety is still brand new. We're 15 years into this. And so it's only going to grow from here. And so I do think that all of these pools of money sitting, whether it be in pension funds or hedge funds or, you know, the massive amount of money, right now there's a record amount of money sitting in money markets. So, you know, and that makes sense. I'm guilty. I have some money in a money market that, you know, I won't say guilty. I'm glad to have it. I think everybody should always have some cash on the sidelines. I think most people agree with that. You don't have to. That's your own personal investing decision. But, you know, I'm happy to be getting some. I'm in a money market getting, you know, close to 4% interest. I don't think that's probably ever going to happen again. It hasn't happened to me. You know, the last time that happened was many, many, many decades ago, and it may never happen again. So I'm enjoying it while it lasts, but I think you're going to see a lot of people when that, you know, 3 or 4 or 5% turns into 1 or 2%, a lot of that money is going to evacuate. And I think that's going to happen, in my opinion, the next 12 to 18 months. So, you know, that's another pool of money, some of which, and certainly it's not all going to run straight to Bitcoin or cryptocurrency, but some portion of it will. So this is my point. There's a lot of different money out there that really hasn't even begun to invest in Bitcoin at all. most of the money in the world has not even started to adopt Bitcoin. Most people still really don't even understand what Bitcoin is. So they know it exists. That's a big, big, change. And that's a step in the process. But as far as being, convinced enough that it's investment worthy, most people aren't there yet. So, but I do think that more will join that list every day. By the way, we're 2 minutes away now, if I'm not mistaken. And we are in the middle of a green candle. We're, $50 away. So we're going to see in the next 2 minutes if we can have a last second run at getting a new daily candle high for the year. And if we don't, it would look like we're going to just barely fall short, but I'm not going to speak too soon. Okay, so I agree with Edmund. I think there's going to be adoption all the way around. Crypto Fever said at Edmund agreed. Crypto Fever said the numbers are crazy. Just how little needs to be allocated to push the needle by a lot on Bitcoin. So that's the math that nobody knows with certainty. But there is a massive multiplier effect. It doesn't take $200 billion of new money to move Bitcoin up by $200 billion in market cap. By no means. There's a massive, massive multiplier effect. So, and that's true not only of Bitcoin, that's true of all assets. Darren said, next year I get to roll over a tax-deferred account. 10% at least will go to Bitcoin ETF. Yeah, so I mean that's critical. Like there's a rollover on a tax-deferred account, and in all likelihood those types of accounts can't buy a Bitcoin, but they can buy into the Bitcoin ETF, and that's the kind of adoption I think we're going to get in a big, big way. All right, so I'm just verifying. If I zoom all the way in, you're going to see we just started a new daily candle. So this finished at 37,838. Just less than $50 short of our all-time high for the year.
All right, welcome to Talking Investing.
So we just missed, but that's okay. That was super close. So it's our second highest daily candle close on the year. And in the meantime, we came within, $30 or $40 of the highest daily candle close on the year. We came within $30 or $40 of Bitcoin's high for the year. So I think this was a big move in the right direction. Let's see if we can put another green candle together tomorrow. Leon, Leon, welcome to the Talking Investing Squad. I'm not sure if you just joined. If you did, then thank you very much and congratulations and welcome. There is a large content. If you navigate your way through, you'll see there's a large content of videos already there ready and waiting for you as a new member. So you can check those out. And there is a video on how to link to the members only Discord as well. So I hope to see you in the members only Discord. SHA, I mark Tom's words. Cleanspark 10x possible, $50 per share. I don't know if I said that, but I think that is well within reach in an 18 to 24 month window of time. So, we'll see what happens. It's very hard. There's so many variables, but I am expecting a multiple X move up from here, whether it's, a 6X, a 10X, a 14X. It's very, very hard to tell, but I know this. we're not in the neighborhood of my personal price target. And again, I am a little bit of a longer term buy and hold investor for the most part. Not exclusively. I do use some options to try and make a little bit of money along the way, especially when Bitcoin was in, the Bitcoin miners were in such a bad spot for such a long period of time. I tried to use some options to make up a little bit of the backwards that I was going. Zombified. What's your favorite miners and why? I mean, for me, I'm on record. My top 3 positions. My number 1 conviction Bitcoin miner is CleanSpark. Coming into 2023, I made a list and I did a video. My number 1 conviction coming into the year as an investment. So there's a lot of variables that go into that. So I felt most secure. I thought Riot was number 1. I thought CleanSpark was number 2. I think I may have had Bitfarms at 3. Those are still my top 3. I think they've moved around a little bit. CleanSpark is definitely, for me personally, CleanSpark is my number 1 conviction play. So, I'm not telling you guys to buy that. There's, somebody here was just talking about buying, the ones at the bottom of the list that have had the toughest time because they may have the most upside. That's not my opinion, but, so my number 1 conviction is in CleanSpark. I think operationally, I look at for CleanSpark and Bitfarms, I think their performance is outstanding. And it's been consistent every single month of the year 2023. In my opinion, both of those companies have performed exceptionally well operationally. And with Riot, it more had to do with the strength of balance sheet. Riot has 0 debt. They have the strongest balance sheet in out of all the Bitcoin miners, in my opinion, by far. Marathon's made some moves to strengthen up what was already a very strong balance sheet. And there are several other companies whose balance sheets I like a lot. But those remain my top 3. CleanSpark definitely number 1. The 2 I bought into the most this year are probably CleanSpark and Bitfarms. I've held Bitfarms, Bitfarms. Marathon and Bitfarms were the first 2 Bitcoin miners that I ever bought. I was buying Bitfarms over the counter at the time in the US. It was not on the NASDAQ for a while. And then they moved over to the NASDAQ, I think, in 2021. So, and I haven't held Marathon in a long, long time. But that doesn't mean I don't like them. If you watch my monthly updates, you'll see I do think there's a lot of good things going on with Marathon. Ross, thank you for being a member. Ross said, rest in peace, Charlie Munger. Yes, Charlie Munger, the number 2 spot at Berkshire Hathaway, most famously, was just a little over 1 month away from turning 100 years old. And there's, one of the most famous investors of all time. SHA is saying insiders say Bitfarms can reach $15 to $20 if Bitcoin goes to 100K. That is above my price target. I will tell you. I'm not saying that they're wrong. I hope. Listen, nobody would be more happy than me. A lot of you would probably be equally happy. If Bitfarms were to run to $15 to $20 at Bitcoin 100,000, that'd be a grand slam home run in my opinion, but I'm not expecting that. My numbers are a little lower than that. But to me, I mean, a 5x, a 6x, a 7x, those are monumental moves to the upside. Most people's portfolios, move 6, 7, 8, 9, 10% a year. You're talking about a stock moving 500, 600, 700, 800% in a 1 or 2 year window. To me, that's a grand slam home run. Yeah, I'd love it to be 1,500% or 2,000%. And I'm not saying that that person's incorrect. I tend to be, believe it or not, I'm very bullish on Bitcoin. I'm bullish on the Bitcoin miners that I invest in, but I do tend to be conservative with my price targets. I just, from an investment standpoint, that's my nature. So, I think that's high, but I would love it. Certainly not going to get me to argue with that. JD, I'll never get my Poor Charlie's Almanac signed now. Well, not authentically anyway. Darren S. said, not financial advice. However, a person should own a spread, CleanSpark, Riot, Marathon, with some kickers, Wolf, Iris, Bitfarms, couple of other smaller kicker names. So diversify. I think CleanSpark, Riot, and Marathon are the, right now at the moment, those are the three largest Bitcoin miners in a lot of different ways that you would measure. Riot and Marathon by market cap, it's not even close. They're much more than twice the size of the next closest Bitcoin miner by market cap. Although I think today CleanSpark is approaching, let's take a look, and this won't necessarily be perfectly accurate, but my cheat sheet is Yahoo on this. So let's just go, this is TerraWolf, but let's just take a quick look at CleanSpark. So $973 million. So if we dug into it and did the math, this is usually plus or minus. So they're moving in on $1 billion. But again, if I go to Marathon, Marathon's at $2.75 billion. So not quite triple the market cap of CleanSpark, which is now in third place from a market cap standpoint. And Riot should be almost the same here. Riot's at $2.65 billion. So you can see those are the only two over $1 billion, and they're closing in on $3 billion. So by far the two largest by market cap. I think there's some adjustments necessary in a lot of the other Bitcoin miners. These have massive institutional adoption. These were the first two publicly traded North American, actually U.S. Bitcoin mining companies. So they may even be in, I think these might even, one of these or both of them might be in the Russell 2000. I'm not sure of that. But they're way out ahead on institutional adoption. So I think a lot of the other miners will ultimately travel this path. It's just Riot and Marathon had a big head start. Both of these companies started mining Bitcoin almost within a month of each other in somewhere around October or November of 2017. Neither one of these companies prior to that had anything to do with Bitcoin or cryptocurrency. They were completely different companies that did completely different things. So they transformed themselves into this. They've been doing this now for quite some time, and they've scaled up massively, but they had a big, my point was, they had a big head start because, they were publicly traded back in the previous bull market. Bitfarms and HUT and Hive all moved into the NASDAQ, they moved into the U.S. equities onto the NASDAQ in 2021, I think, like the middle of the year 2021. So, full 4 years later. So let's end this poll. We've got 102 votes. So 180, and this was a broad range, so it's no surprise that this won by a mile. Between 80,000 and 150,000 is where most people think Bitcoin will peak in the next cycle. 150,000 to 200,000 came in second place at 21%, under 80,000 at 15%, and over 200,000 made a little run, 12%. We did get 102 votes, so thank you everybody for participating in the poll. I will end this poll. So an optimistic group. Let's just take a last look at Bitcoin. All right, so we didn't hit either of our goals here on the 15-minute. You'll see that, and you know we're only minutes into this day, so I wouldn't read too much into this red candle so far. But we did have a fantastic green candle on the day that just closed. Hopefully, everybody had a great day in their portfolio and a great day overall. Thank you guys so much for joining us on the live stream. A special thanks to members who joined on the members only live stream today, and I see a bunch of you still here in the members. Darren S, Crypto Fever, Ross, JD. If I missed anybody, Cosmic Contrarian. So thanks everybody. Special thanks to the members and subscribers. If you have not yet subscribed, of course, it's free to subscribe. If you enjoy the channel, please subscribe. And we will see you in the next videos. And our normal live stream is every Friday after the market closes. So if you enjoyed this, you can join us every single Friday after the market closes. Myself and George is usually here with me. So thank you so much for watching. Everybody have a fantastic night